Today on Investigate TV Plus, for parents, raising a child is often met with worry as you try to do everything you can to keep a little life safe from harm. I'm Tisha Powell.
And I'm Lee Zurich, but a sinister phenomenon can take that all away.
You hear about SIDS, and then you get to that first year and you think, okay, we're good. He's good.
We take an in-depth look at a medical anomaly similar to sudden infant death syndrome, except it strikes at an older age.
I didn't know that you could put an 18-month-old to bed and they could just not wake up.
Plus, it's an industry that helps keep our trillion-dollar economy afloat, but also comes with serious risk.
Like anything, it's like a knee-jerk reaction to make the heighten your senses.
We bring you on deck to show you how.
Then a boxer who spent years in the ring finds himself on the other side of the ropes.
That makes me proud to see that they're actually learning.
We show you how he's teaching much more than the sweet science.
Bring your hands back, bring your hands back.
In-depth stories that inform and inspire. You're watching Investigate TV Plus. It's a routine many new parents go through, staying up all night, constantly checking to see if their baby's okay.
The sad fact is their anxiety isn't unfounded. Each year, an estimated 3,400 children die of sudden infant death syndrome, or SIDS. It affects newborns up to age 1.
You may have heard of SIDS, but what you may not know is this same type of phenomenon happens to children older than 1 year.
It's called sudden unexplained death in children, or SUDC.
It's more rare than SIDS, but for parents who've lived through it, not rare enough.
And they want more research done to find out why this is happening and how to stop it.
Reporter Kristen Crowley has an in-depth look at SUDC and one family's fight for answers for their son.
Smiling for the camera.
Newborn Charlie made Jenna and Sam Henriksen a family of 4.
Coming home with Charlie, obviously there's a ton of joy there, but it almost like reopened the grief.
Are you going to be a big brother?
Grief.
Does mommy have a baby in her belly?
Because only 3 of them are here today.
It would be exciting to see, oh, you know, you look so much like your brother, or, you know, oh, you do that thing that your brother did, but when his brother's not here,
it's a reminder of what you lost.
Yeah, it's excruciating. He was just the happiest boy ever.
Happy and healthy. Hudson was an energetic, typical toddler.
He loved food.
Oh my gosh, the boy could eat. He loved to eat.
And Sam and Jenna were typical first-time parents, a little nervous and extra cautious.
You hear about SIDS, and I was always worried. I was so strict on the safe sleep. You know, like he was never in our bed. He was always in a crib. And then you get to that first year and you think, okay, we're good. He's good.
That comforting feeling washed away in the middle of the night, January 8th, 2024.
I didn't know that you could put an 18-month-old to bed and they could just not wake up. I started CPR on him, and then the paramedics got here and they took him. I mean, the rest of it's just like kind of too hard to get into, honestly.
And when the autopsy did come back, what did it say?
Absolutely, it's perfectly healthy. Perfect brain, perfect heart.
The Henriksens were left with a frustrating explanation. There was no explanation. Hudson's death was undetermined and categorized as SUDC, a sudden unexplained death in childhood.
We've heard of SIDS, of course, but I'd never heard of SUDC. I didn't know this could happen.
I do think that the average American has not heard of SUDC, despite it being the 4th leading cause of death in toddlers.
Dr. Erin Bowen is a pediatrician and vice president of the SUDC Foundation. She says SUDC means there is a full autopsy, but no cause of death. No explanation why they died. It's different than SIDS, sudden infant death syndrome, because it occurs in children 1 year old and older. Right now, there is no known cause and no way to prevent it.
How many families have been affected by this?
So we estimate that approximately 500 children annually are affected by SUDC, but what we recognize is it's likely that that's an underrepresentation.
Underrepresented because there is a lack of knowledge this even exists, not just among parents, but medical professionals, including at one point, Dr. Bowen.
He went down for his nap like he normally would, and it was about an hour into his nap that my husband found him unresponsive.
Her son, 17-month-old Connor, died in 2016. To this day, his cause of death is undetermined.
I thought, how could I as a pediatrician not be able to even know that this could happen?
How do you negotiate raising awareness with this without terrifying parents that, oh, something could happen to your child and there's nothing you can do about it?
That's why I think we really do need to talk about it more, because until we start talking about it more and making it more commonplace to hear about it, we're not going to get funding, we're not going to get answers, and we're not going to start preventing these tragedies.
The SUDC Foundation is pushing for more awareness and research because right now, it has very little of both. For comparison, SIDS is more well-known and more common than SUDC by about 4 to 1, but the funding and research disparity between the two is 500 to 1.
How do you feel about the funding for SUDC, how much it's getting?
Well, it's getting nothing, so I don't feel great about it at all.
Most of the SUDC Foundation's funding comes from private donations, families who've experienced SUDC's horrors firsthand. SUDC is working to get federal funding, which experts say has made an incredible impact in reducing SIDS deaths. In 1990, for every 100,000 babies born, more than 130 died from SIDS. That number has decreased nearly every year since. The National Institutes of Health attributes this to research on safe sleep for infants and a public awareness campaign to alert parents of risk factors.
I think that it's a good lesson to say when we put funding and education in, we can see a difference, because we have seen a difference in that world for sure.
More funding for SUDC could mean more answers on what connects these unexplained deaths in children.
I don't know that it's the same thing that, caused every one of these kids' deaths, but, we don't know that unless we start looking into it.
More data, more research, more funding, so fewer children lose their lives and fewer parents live in fear.
Everyone says, okay, 1 in 100,000, it's so rare. And it is rare, and the idea is not to scare people here, but it's not rare enough.
There is some information that connects these children. Experts say about 95% of SUDC deaths happen in a sleep state. It can happen to any child under the age of 18, and most of the children impacted are boys and toddlers, and some had mild illnesses like a cold or fever. On the days Hudson and Connor died, both of them had mild temperatures. There are studies underway testing the genetics of parents and their children connected with SUDC. The Henriksons are part of one of those studies, but they say so far, researchers have not found any answers in Hudson's genes. Other research has found an increased history of febrile seizures for some of the children, which could explain a portion of the deaths, but not all of them.
The Henriksons haven't stopped fighting for answers. Since Hudson's death, they've hosted and participated in fundraisers for SUDC research to keep Hudson's memory alive. Their May 2024 fundraiser, Huddy's Hike, raised more than $50,000 for the SUDC Foundation. Jenna also helped launch a group for bereaved moms in St. Paul, Minnesota. For more information on SUDC and other awareness efforts, head to sudc.org.
Still ahead, a diagnosis increasing among children has a hospital expanding its ward.
It's growing tremendously, and that's across the nation.
We reveal the condition creating concern among some physicians.
But first, we get access to cargo ships off the U.S. coast for an in-depth look at how they try to safely transport goods to your doorstep. One could argue it's one of the most important modes of transportation for our country's economy.
Our marine ports take in more than 95% of the cargo that enters the U.S. Most of our nation's top ports in total tonnage are concentrated in the southeast and east coast.
One of the busiest is the Baltimore Harbor, where on March 26, 2024, catastrophe struck. A fully loaded cargo ship lost power as it headed toward the Francis Scott Key Bridge. 6 construction crew members on the bridge at the time were killed.
After the bridge collapsed, cargo ship crews in Savannah, Georgia, reevaluated their safety plan.
Reporter Blair Miller joined a crew on deck to reveal how.
The beauty of the sea, divided by the beauty of human engineering. Every day, up and down East Coast ports, these huge cargo ships arrive. On March 26th of 2024, tragedy unfolded in Baltimore when a cargo ship lost power and hit the Francis Scott Key Bridge. 6 construction workers were on that bridge and died. 840 miles to the south, here at the edge of Savannah, that tragedy is still top of mind for these harbor pilots. Their job is very specialized. They take control of the ship from its regular captain in order to bring it to or from the port.
I'm the person that makes things get where it needs to be.
The tragedy in Baltimore brought a new focus for veteran harbor pilot Reginald Magwood.
What did that do for you when you saw something like that?
Well, what it did for me is like anything, it's like a knee-jerk reaction. It heightens your senses. It makes you make better safety decisions. You know, we have to do risk assessment all the time, but more so, we make sure the ship has no issues as far as function.
As they showed us, the risk is real. 17 miles off the coast of Savannah, with both vessels moving, these pilots climb the side of the cargo ship to get on board. Then they navigate the ocean and eventually the winding Savannah River, sometimes for hours, to reach the terminal.
12 to 15 ships like this one right here come into Savannah every single day. It's the 4th busiest port in the country. It's been like that for 10 to 12 years.
When we asked crews here how easily a tragedy like Baltimore could occur in Savannah, they said it's almost impossible.
Just the narrowness of the river, the bridge piers didn't need to be inside the channel, whereas in Baltimore the bay is so wide, then the piers are all over the channel.
He says the ships would hit the ground in shallow water before even having a chance to hit the Talmadge Bridge.
Is there anything that happened maybe like in Baltimore, another port where you say that we need to do something differently?
Well, going back to that phone call, their dispatch office had that number available. That's one thing we talked about is who can we call when we have an emergency? Do we have a list to go down we can call? That's the first thing we've worked on.
In June 2024, 10 weeks after its collapse, crews removed the last of the debris from the blocked channel in Baltimore, opening it back up for operation.
The Maryland Department of Transportation expects the new Francis Scott Key Bridge to open in October of 2028.
Meanwhile, the Georgia Ports Authority says April 2024 was its busiest month ever for automobile shipments as crews rerouted cargo from Baltimore. Still ahead.
2, 1, back to your feet, have some fun, have some fun, have some fun.
How a former pro teaches kids how to hold their own in the ring and believe in themselves.
Plus, more children are experiencing issues with body image.
I was arguably thin by all, standards, and I still wasn't comfortable in my body.
We have an in-depth look at why eating disorders are on the rise and how one hospital found a potential solution to fight the harmful condition. It's often a silent struggle that affects teens and young adults more than anyone else. Experts estimate nearly 30 million people will have an eating disorder in their lifetime. 95% are between the ages of 12 and 25.
Experts at Stanford Medicine say it's important to talk about because eating disorders have higher mortality rates than any other psychiatric condition.
Reporter Sharon Chen shows us why more children are seeing the signs of disordered eating and shows us how one hospital is responding.
I got a little cheesecake.
There was a time when dessert would have never been on the menu for Jessica Thompson, let alone much else.
I would,
restrict my intake throughout the day.
Jessica would literally starve herself.
And then by the end of the day, I was so ravenously hungry.
Then exercise. Too much.
Running was primarily the thing that I gravitated toward.
So you would just run and run.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Even though your body was depleted. Even though my body was depleted.
At just 14 years old, she struggled with anorexia.
And so even though I was arguably thin by all, standards and based on other people's perceptions, I still wasn't comfortable in my body.
A new study from JAMA says more than 1 in 5 teens show signs of eating disorders.
That's growing tremendously, and that's across the nation.
In Kansas City, some of those teens end up here at Children's Mercy's Eating Disorder Center. Dr. Sarah Gould, director.
We accept 10-year-olds and up. New patients, we stop at 17.
And patient count is higher than ever. Gould says in 1 year, the number of patients served has tripled, leading now to an expansion of the clinic. Kids and teens treated for anorexia, bulimia, and binge eating.
We also almost all the time have at least one patient in for a medical stabilization, so their bodies are ill enough that they need to be in the hospital.
And now add to the list avoidant restrictive food intake disorder, or ARFID, a condition when patients struggle to eat enough.
And it is an eating disorder, but unlike the others, there isn't a body image component to it.
Dr. Gould says in most cases, ARFID is genetic, but other eating disorders are not, many influenced by societal pressures. Cases are just as high in boys as they are in girls. Treatment can range from therapy to nutrition guidance, but with a family focus.
Caregivers are powerful in this process. They can help their kids make changes that their kids are not ready to make on their own. And it's not overstating it to say save their lives.
For Jessica, it's been a long journey, even with treatment.
I feel like I have figured it out. And I feel like that took time and practice and learning new coping skills and practice and trusting my body.
Now she's turned those lessons into a career.
Well, tell me a little bit about this and what's happening for you now.
As a registered dietitian specializing in eating disorders.
And that's what you remember about that about a year ago.
She shares her story now in hopes no others will travel down her path.
I know a lot of my teens that end up knowing at some point or another that I have struggled do find a deeper connection with me as a clinician because they know I get it.
We want to go more in-depth on the relationship between social media and body image.
A 2023 study found young people who reduced their screen time on social sites by 50% saw a significant improvement on how they view their appearance.
It's not just that kids are more anxious and depressed with worse body image and then they go on social media more. We know it is the reverse, that more time on social media increases those concerns.
Experts at Stanford University say another reason we're seeing more cases is because doctors now have a broader scope of how eating disorders are categorized.
Still ahead, they practice punches today to help build a confident tomorrow.
They also know how to stand up for themselves and always tell them to respect their craft.
The professional boxer introducing young people to the ring. A caring mentor can change the trajectory of a child's life, offering guidance and support, often when it's needed most.
For some kids in South Carolina, that mentor is a former professional boxer.
Reporter Lauren Korn shows us how he's setting kids up for success in and out of the ring.
Back to work, let's go. Get my 10-piece, 10-piece. More your speed is your power. Feel like I'm giving back. Bring your hands back up, don't get lazy.
It's full circle for boxer Curtis the Trap Morton.
My uncle actually gave me that name. I used to trap guys in the ring, cutting off the ring, so I trapped them against the ropes. Catch it, catch it.
Curtis took after his father, spending years in the ring before retiring in 2018 and clinching a new title, Coach Curtis.
I never dreamt of doing that. I remember seeing coaches and they always told me like, once you start boxing, it never leave you. And that was right, it never left. I always gonna be part of it, and then seeing these kids come up, it makes my heart tingle. 2, 1, back your feet, have some fun, have some fun, have some fun.
The EYK boxing coach added kids to his class 2 years ago. here at Sky Fitness 24/7.
Bring your hands back, bring your hands back.
Teaching combos and confidence.
I've definitely seen that. Things that we work on inside the gym, I actually see them doing in competition, so that makes me proud to see that they're actually learning.
And what do y'all want to be when you grow up?
A professional boxer.
Meet some of his students.
Haymaker.
Showtime.
Boom Boom. Hitman. Assassin.
Their tough boxing names are as tough as their determination in the ring.
I always want to get better. Try to make it big. My favorite thing is sparring and trying to get better. You have to have the right mindset. It's part of the game.
Let's go.
It takes patience, practice, and plenty of repetition.
They also know how to stand up for themselves, and I always tell them to respect their craft.
The young boxers honing their skills and winning out-of-state competitions, bringing home some of these ornate belts.
Sometimes you go by a team and sometimes you go by yourself.
Okay, is it better to go by yourself or with the team?
Team.
No, because they motivate you every day and say you got it.
It's a team with a bond stronger than the ropes of the ring.
Hands up, hands up, hands up.
And a coach who pushes them every step of the way, even after the gloves come off.
It's our favorite coach.
Favorite coach, Coach Curtis. Sir, Curtis D.
He's a good man.
Good man, yeah.
Why is he a good man?
Because he taught us the best things that he
He's
knew.
funny,
Because
too.
he's a professional boxer and he taught us everything he knew.
He always tells us that you can do this, you can keep going.
Don't get too cute. Keep working, keep working. There you go. Sometimes I want to cry. I ain't gonna sit here loud with you. See how their expressions, like when they yell and jump up and down, they accomplish something. So that makes me feel good inside.
Well, that is amazing. Boxing is hard.
It's a good workout, right?
It is.
Yeah, I mean, punching that bag like that.
And they're learning a lot, you know, about boxing and about life.
I was going to say life lessons, a lot of those there. Very good. All right, that's it for us on Investigate TV Plus. I'm Lee Zurich.
And I'm T. Chappelle. Thanks for watching.
On the next Investigate TV Plus, a beloved farm faces an uncertain future.
We don't know how many years God's going to give us. We hope we're still here and can do it and can see these guys with their families here and becoming U.S. citizens.
We take an in-depth look at how farmers are struggling to get legal workers and the impact on the produce headed to your dinner table.